Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in, welcome in. I hope everybody enjoyed their final weekend of March. I know I did. I went to a professional wrestling event on Friday with a buddy of mine. Hence the new AEW hat, sporting it proudly. But we have 13 sales to rattle through from this past weekend, and it was a nice variety too. Unlike last week, I think all we had was baseball stuff and clothing. But we have a nice, fun variety this week. 4 sales on Friday, 6 on Saturday, and 3 on Sunday. So let's take a goose, a gander, and a peek at what we sold this past weekend. First up, a men's size large champion undershirt or athletic shirt, just plain white. This actually came with a set. I got this at an estate sale for 50 cents. It came with a set of a sweatsuit, a tracksuit, but the tracksuit was size XL and the undershirt was size large. So I don't know if they pieced that together like that. I listed them separately. I feel like that's just easier than explaining it in the description. And that sold for $9 going to Coppell, Texas. So not too bad. The sweatsuit I sold a while ago. Our only baseball of the weekend goes to Dale Murphy. Dale Murphy, National League MVP, 82 and 83 inscribed on there with a nice display case and, of course, a certificate of authenticity from Mountain Memories and an MLB certified sticker. That sold for $59, a part of the baseball collection buyout going to Springfield, Oregon. And then one bundle of baseball cards all weekend, and it was not a big one. This one sold for a few bucks going to Holland, Pennsylvania. This is, what is this? Upper Deck 1994, but it's only cards 1 through 63. But they are in a... And I had the binder of Upper Deck 1994, and it was complete with including 1 through 63. So I don't know if they were trying to do a second set or what. And our final sale of Friday, as I get this fuzzy off my shoulder, was the longest listed item of the weekend. I always like to shout that out. I usually shout out an item to not buy to resell, but I don't really have one other than this because I didn't purchase this. This sold for a whopping $2 going to Seminole, Florida. I have had this ring listed for over a year. I got this, or I listed this last February. It's just an opal ring. It is adjustable, so it's not a specific size, which is nice, but it is unmarked. I got this from my mother. She gave me a bunch of her old jewelry that she didn't want anymore, and majority of it is long gone and sold. However, that took a while. Unmarked jewelry is kind of difficult, especially modern. I mean, that's not vintage, so modern unmarked jewelry is kind of difficult to sell. But that wraps it up for Friday. Then we skiddle-doo right on into Saturday, and we are starting with a repeat buyer, of course, every weekend from Burlington, Iowa for these past several weeks now. Just down the road an hour-ish. Purchased a bundle of 6 boys size 24-month short sleeve onesies. 'Tis the season, folks. 6 of those sold for $7. A repeat buyer, which makes me think maybe I should list the 2T. I went through and broke it down. I was like, I gotta list this kids' clothes. I have 4 totes of kids' clothes in my to be listed area. Just taking up space, it's my boys', so, I'm not really in it for resale, but it's got to go somehow. And so I went through in February, I listed all the 1 tote of 18-month, and in March, I listed the 1 tote of 24 months. So far, I'm up past $150 in kids' clothes sales, which I'm happy about. It's just sitting there. But now I feel like what's left is 2 full totes of 2T, and I know that's a more desirable size than the other ones. But sorting it and storing it is a biscuit once it's, you know what I mean. Anyway, I do have another kids' clothes sale. This is a new buyer from Stockton, New Jersey. Bought a bundle of 18 size 24 months t-shirts, mixed brands, 18 of them for $20. So there we go. Make sure not to mix those up. Then we have one more threads on Saturday. This was a pair of CJ Banks women's comfort pants. They are new with tags. I got these actually from the same estate sale as the Champion t-shirt. This was $1, and they sold for $16, going to Mulvane, Kansas. Then on Saturday, still got a small handful of CDs floating around. Sabotage, Handful of Rain, actually a pretty good one. Well, in relativity to what's left from the collection. $6 going to Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. And then, fun enough, I cross-list manually, unfortunately. I would eventually like to get into all the other Poshmark and whatnot, at least static listing. Mercari, Depop, maybe. But taking the time to do those manually would be ridiculous. I do it for dibdit.com because of things like this. But there are services out there that can do it for the multiple platforms. But the problem is I don't have accounts for those multiple platforms. And what a whole thing. Anyway, on Dibdit, I sold 2 static listings on Saturday to the same person in Dayton, Ohio. They purchased a Simpsons trivia game. This is, I believe, complete, and it sold for $20. I got this for 50 cents at a garage sale. So that was a nice flip. And then the last item of the weekend from the baseball collection buyout, not a card and not a ball, but the 1938 rule book. It is in it's in worn condition. It's still structurally there other than the back cover. But structurally it's mostly, it's complete. It's just 2 pages have fallen out and it's missing the cover, but it's still sold for $13. Obviously, these in great condition can do pretty well because 1938 rulebook, pretty neato, if you ask me, folks. And then we have Sunday, just 3 sales on Sunday. First off, we have a Dickies size large men's workwear shirt. This is new with tags. This sold for $18, going to Camden, Tennessee. I got this for $3 at fall garage sales. I also got this for $3 at the Ben Franklin store buyout thing. This was a Spice Girl, or is a Spice Girls. This is Mel B from the Spice Girls. This didn't take too long to sell. Unfortunately, her boombox, it is obviously still new and sealed, but the boombox has come off the backing, so it's kind of rattling around in there. Sold for $19. I got it for $3 going to Sheridan, Colorado. And our final sale was over there on Dibdit, another buy it now, to a new buyer in Tunnel Hill, Georgia. They purchased this Johnson & Johnson Band-Aid, the vintage Band-Aid canister. Even got some Band-Aids in there, tossing them in there, why not? These are actually pretty uncommon. It sold for $10. I got it for $1 at an estate sale, one of the first of the year. And I actually had that in a video not too long ago, if you're following along, folks. But pretty decent weekend. I just like the variety of all the different items heading out. And I'd say it was pretty good because I did not do a lot of listing this past week. I had a kitchen show on dibdit.com. It did all right. And I put a few nights into prepping and executing and shipping that show. So not a ton of listing this past week, so I didn't expect much from this weekend, but I was pretty pleased. What was your favorite sale? I don't know. I used to really enjoy The Simpsons. I haven't watched The Simpsons in ages, so depending on what year this is, 2002, I think I would do pretty well at The Simpsons trivia. I might have to flip through some cards beforehand. So that's probably my favorite sale. But I also love getting rid of things that have been hanging around for over a year. But let me know in the comments what you enjoyed. And let's have a wonderful April, everybody.